Hello students, in today's video we are going to learn about the concept of satellite internet. So briefly I'm going to cover this. I'm not using much text actually because you can find it easily, or I'll post it in the description box. Plus after the topic is over I'll share some questions, main based questions, so that you can practice it. Now coming back to this term satellite internet. So why are we talking about it? Naturally because it is important for exam and specifically GS3. Science and Tech comes in GS3. Okay, so we are going to talking about this, and this is a very current topic. It's there in the news, current affairs. How? You have heard of this term known as Starlink. So Starlink satellite services, internet services, Starlink. You may have heard about Indian companies collaborating with a company known as OneWeb, which provides satellite internet. I think Bharti Airtel is one company that is actually collaborating with OneWeb. Then Amazon, Google, all of them are in the race for providing satellite-based internet services. Fine. So this is there, and we are seeing the crucial role that Starlink satellites have been providing in the Ukraine war against Russia. Okay, so here we are. Some brief information about the satellite thing, what all is happening. Now let's move forward on this. So why are we talking about satellite internet? Why are Indian companies collaborating to provide satellite-based internet services? Why? The main reason is that satellites can provide internet services that are high speed. So high speed internet services with low latency. You must have checked your internet speed at some point of time, and you may have come across this term known as latency. Latency means the response time, right? So response time when you search something or do anything, latency. So high speed and speed up to 500 megabytes per second. So that can be provided. We are already talking about the 5G internet services. So what does 5G again mean? 5G means speeds above 1 gigabyte per second. The capability of providing speeds of 1 gigabyte per second. Speeds at that level. So this can obviously provide the speed plus more. So satellite internet can augment. Augment means add on or complement the existing infrastructure that is there. Right, so that is the thing. It can augment it. And in Indian context, particularly in Indian context, there is lack of physical infra. Right? There is a shortcoming of towers, there is a shortcoming of optical fiber networks, especially when we talk about rural and remote areas. So lack of physical infra or shortcomings in our infra, which leads to digital divide. You can use these terms. Digital divide. So what does digital divide means? So people who have internet services and people who do not have access to internet services. And it is amply clear that internet is something that is required, right? Internet for your classes, online classes, internet for your businesses, whatever. Internet is very much required, and that too high speed internet. And especially post-COVID world. Okay, so there is a shortcoming over here. And the reasons for these shortcomings, especially in Indian context, is obviously funding. Funding can be one reason, right? All these things, creation of towers, signals, etc., cables, etc. It's an expensive affair. It is costly. Then, geographical barriers. There may be difficult terrains, there may be mountainous areas, or people actually live in remote areas. So it doesn't make sense to create a specific tower for a particular family or a particular household. It's an expensive thing. So it doesn't make sense. So be it funding, be it geographical barrier, be it economies of scale, it doesn't make sense. And this is where satellite internet can come into the picture. You can also add a social dimension to this. You can mention that 70% of India is rural, where this infrastructure, services, etc. are not available. I mean, when you travel on your highways, you can see the internet dropping, yet telecom connection dropping. So this is very, very important. The future of 70% of India's population is dependent, and therefore we need to do something about this. And satellite internet can help it. Now, what is satellite internet? So imagine, now we were talking about towers and optical fibers, which we are aware of, right? We have been seeing this. So let me just rub this a bit. Okay. So imagine this is the surface of the earth, right? Circular, semicircle type surface of the earth. So satellite internet means that the internet will be beamed through satellites onto the surface of the earth. Okay? So internet is being beamed. B-E-A-M-E-D. So let me just write this. The internet is being beamed. So beamed via the satellite. Which internet? High speed internet. So directly, this iPad, laptop, mobile is directly connected to the satellite. Right? Now, even if there were mountains, etc., no issues, no cables, no issues. Directly through the space. So internet is being provided. Fine. So this concept was already there. This is not new. Space-based internet is not something new. So what is new right now? So earlier what was happening was that the satellite had to be in the geostationary orbit. Geostationary orbit. That means if the earth is rotating, the satellite should also go side by side, like this. So it is geostationary. From the earth, if you look at the satellite, it seems to be stationary. You know, when we have been using the D2H services, the cable TV, etc. D2H, you are familiar with this thing, direct to home. So we had this D2H towers that are positioned directly in one particular direction. They are looking into the space. What is there in the space? Somewhere there is a satellite that is providing or that is beaming this telecom related, television related signals. So geostationary orbit. Now 36,000 kilometers. You have to provide that thing, that infrastructure 36,000 kilometers in space, which is very expensive. Geostationary orbits, satellites are very, very expensive affair. So what? So what they are doing right now is, these satellite companies, they are launching satellites in low Earth orbit. Where are they doing it in? Low Earth orbit. This is important. So low Earth orbit is anywhere between 50 kilometers, 200 kilometers range. So 200 kilometers, imagine 200 from the surface of the Earth. But this could mean low Earth orbit. This means that this is not geostationary. That means the satellite will move here, then obviously after some time it will rotate the surface of the earth. So this person will not have access to this particular satellite over here. So here what they are doing is, since this is a low cost affair, multiple satellites are being launched. And these are known as constellation. So constellation of satellites are being launched. Remember, I just said 34 OneWeb satellites were launched recently. 34. So there are thousands and thousands of satellites that are orbiting the space. So even if the satellite is not there, or for this particular person, entity, then there will be another satellite. So it's like a series of satellites that are providing a network and providing high-speed internet. So uninterrupted internet is being provided over here. Fine. Got it? Okay. So now what are the benefits Let's briefly do this. What are the benefits over here? We are able to overcome the limitations, the connectivity, lack of physical infrastructure. We are able to get high-speed internet, low latency. In fact, when we get internet from optical fiber cables, the normal internet, cable internet that we have, they have higher latency because internet, the packets of data take more time when they travel in that wire. But when they travel into the space, the time taken is actually much lesser. So you get faster response times. So we are able to overcome the limitations that I just mentioned. But then, nothing is without its shortcomings. There are always certain concerns. So let's do the shortcomings now. So shortcomings. Do you know Elon Musk, the person who owns this company, Starlink, he launched satellite services in India. And what was its price? It was priced at $100. $100 per month. So that translates into 100 into 80 to 8,000 rupees. Roughly 8,000 rupees per month. And what is the standard internet services? A standard is about 1,000 rupees per month, starting from 600, 700 rupees. So around average prices 1,000 rupees per month, and here they are charging about 8,000 rupees per month. This internet is very expensive. Obviously, it will be expensive. You are launching satellites into the space. It is going to be more expensive than laying optical cable networks. So it is obviously more expensive than traditional internet. It is more expensive over here. Then what is the issue? I just said that a constellation of satellites, a series of satellites would be launched to provide uninterrupted internet. 34 satellites are being launched, 34 in one go. So this also results, eventually the satellite will get old, so this also results in congestion of the space. Which when goes bad, these satellites when they go bad, they will result in space junk. Have you seen this movie Gravity? You must watch it. Or just watch the trailer of this movie. So space junk. All these satellites will be floating around the space uninterruptedly, they'll be floating. And who knows, this may in future collide with maybe a space station or who knows what. Because, and this was about to happen actually, we don't really know. Starlink is one of the pioneers of the satellite internet, especially this concept of, this constellation of satellites. And there was a complaint from the Russian side and the Chinese side that it was about to collide. It came too close to their space station. So this is a matter of concern. And yes, there is also one more issue. Regulations. Oh, it's not visible. So regulatory concerns. We hardly have any regulatory framework. Till now, the space sector was being used by the government agencies, NASA, ISRO, etc. So government entities were operating in the space domain. Now we are opening it up for the private sector. Here in this case for internet. So this would result in more and more of these operators. There results in concerns associated with how this space resource is being used. It leads to the concern of congestion taking place. So we have to be mindful of the principles of sustainability, of space pollution, congestion, junk. So we have to be careful about that. So we need a regulatory framework, otherwise it will be a risk. So that is required. Now one more point I would like to add. This is also a national security concern. Many UPSC things, websites don't mention this, but it is a national security risk. maybe a US based company, OneWeb, or a Chinese based company is having a constellation of space satellites orbiting around on India. Obviously, it's providing services to India, so it's on the Indian this thing. These satellites can be used for espionage. It can be used for espionage. What is espionage? Spying. So this thing is highly restricted right now, but with globalization and with saying that world is open and let's allow US-based companies or Chinese-based companies into India, it raises concerns about espionage. It raises concern about cybersecurity risks. So these are some things that needs to be looked into. And for this, we need to create a good regulatory framework. Right? So this is it about this topic. And yes, when I talk about the regulatory framework, we can always talk about the Artemis Accords. So we have a video on this. This topic was there actually. So Artemis Accords. You can refer to this video as well on our YouTube channel. This is the name of the topic. Right. So this is it about satellite internet. Some pointers over here. Now, if UPSC was to ask a question to you on satellite internet, although I'll post some questions on the description box, but if UPSC was to ask some ideas. So one, like recently in 2022, UPSC asked a question with reference to hydrogen fuel cell and it said it is not without its cons. It is not without its shortcomings. So yeah, so satellite internet has many benefits, but it is not without its shortcomings. Elaborate, full stop, elaborate. So that is one type of question. So this is basically a critical assessment of satellite internet. So that is one thing, right? So you mentioned the positives and the shortcomings over here. And typically such questions are 150 words, even if it can be asked in 250 also, but typically 150 words. So this is one type, application of space internet plus some shortcomings. So this is there. Plus maybe they can ask you about the mechanism or the working of satellite internet. So there we will have to elaborate this a bit more. And why am I saying this? It's because UPSC asked us a question about, when I was actually, so this question they asked about the working of the IRNSS, Regional Navigation System. So working, it didn't ask about the application. Typically UPSC asks it this way, but this time it asks about the application of the working. So such question can also be asked, so we should be prepared. Then another line of question could be the need for a regulatory framework with reference to the satellite internet. Here again we'll talk about the definition of the satellite internet, pros and cons. So same things have to be there. Obviously the need to regulate, you have to mention the positives and the shortcomings. Okay, and when you talk about regulatory framework, you can always mention a term known as sandbox approach. So more on that later. Sandbox approach, Google this. So this is it from my side on this topic. Bye bye, take care and all the best for your preparation.